What's a random statistic about yourself you'd love to know, but never will? How many people have gotten off thinking of me? How often people thought of me? How many girls were attracted to me and wanted me to ask them out? All the ones that committed suicide when they realized they were desperate enough to think of you. I'd like to know how many photos I'm in the background of. I walk through a historic part of Prague to work. Every day I go to and from work, or to and from lunch I dodge people posing for photos. I expect to be in many family albums. I'm even on Street View. Twice, actually. Once in a car, and once on foot. How many people actually judge me during the school day? People judge you a lot less than you think. 99% of people are too busy thinking about who's judging them. Wouldn't say that I judge people, I analyze them. I analyze how you look, what you wear, how you act, but then I forget about you in 5 minutes. I continue judging people I'm forced to interact with. I'm judging you right now. I think you're great. There. Let that eat away at you. How many times was I near a buried treasure? How many times I've brightened someone's day? How many times I've caused a person to fundamentally question their beliefs? Ooh, good one. I would like to know this one too. Probably rarely happens. Most people appeal to their emotions and can't accept the fact that they may be wrong, even when facts are presented. I don't know, I think this is pretty cynical. I've fundamentally changed certain ways of thinking, based on small insights, and most of the people with said insights have no idea the impact they made on me. How many pounds of mayonnaise I've eaten? For me it would be cheese. I don't think I actually want to know the answer. I don't want that number either. How much times I've masturbated? Lol, I know my stat 2 times a day 365 days a year 3 years plus 1 time a day 122 days a year 3 years equals 25 56 times for me. You gotta pump those up, those are rookie numbers. Lol, low-key we all can low-key calculate though XD. Was low-key necessary in that sentence? Just fillers? How many times my advice has actually helped the person asking? If someone is asking advice and you're listening enough to answer and try to help them, it'd say more than you'd ever imagine. When I get advice, even if I don't take it, I really appreciate another side's perspective. How many times someone was asking for emotional support and already knew the answer I gave them instead. Either I give bad advice or 99% of the time people just wanna vent and do what they were gonna do anyway. How many times have I nearly died without realizing how many other people I have killed in video games? How many people would miss me if I disappeared out of their life? How many miles my arms have moved while drumming? How many serial killers I have seen without knowing? How many people have laughed out loud to posts of mine on Reddit? These are just me adding more things to the list. Another angle on your first one. How many times I've almost killed someone without realizing? Yeah, like with the snowball effect. One thing I do snowballs and eventually, if it killed someone, or ruined someone's life, someone may have caused war or a lot of deaths without realizing it. That drumming one is something I would like to know as well. RLRRLRLL. I honestly hate that paradiddle. I hate it. How many tears I've shed over things that weren't worth my energy. How many killers I have talked to in my life. How many winning lottery tickets I've stood next to but never bought at various gas stations across the country. How much money I've spent on alcohol. That one you can estimate pretty well if you keep track of your budget. I think it'd be cool to know how many people's lives I've significantly impacted, positive or negative. I can think of a few people who have influenced my life who probably have no idea that I still think about them from time to time. A nice wholesome reply. That would be nice to know. What percentage of my own history have I forgotten? How much money I spent on fast food? How much of my life have I wasted so far? Don't know exactly about life, but you have surely wasted your English classes. How many people have ever had a crush on me? How many times I planned to talk to someone, but ended up turning back without saying any word. But how many missed opportunities I've had due to my own cowardice. I'm really into sliding doors like scenarios. How many times I have genuinely made someone happy, or had a positive impact on their lives. How many times I've walked past someone that I've walked past before without realizing. I actually think this a lot. When I started at university, I started dating this guy who was from a city about 200 miles from my home. Uni was in the middle. One day we were sitting around with a big group talking about where we were on 9/11. This was about 6 months after, and my boyfriend said he was at this theme park which is nowhere near his home. I couldn't believe it, because I was there that day too. It made me wonder how many times I'm next to someone who in later life I will know well, but also how many times I see the same strangers without knowing. How many times I was near my future husband without knowing. We both grew up in the same city. My parents know his best friend's parents. We must have passed each other on festivals, or played at the same park, or gone shopping at the same time at some points in our lives. How many times I've made someone happy. This just made me realize that a lot of the times that I've made people happy is when they are having fun bullying me. They are not happy then. They are miserable and quite possibly dumb and unable of adhering to higher life moral standards. That's why they bully you. So be happy in the thought that everyone who wishes you bad is most probably struggling with life or oneself themself. That came out quite funny. How far I'm to die for diabetes. I'm seriously worried about my health, but too scared to try a change in my life. How much of my horrible behavior and life choices is a product of my childhood, and how much is just me? How many times I thought about moving to an island to not deal with others' BS. For each parallel universe, what I did different in that universe, how many changes and what areas, how their different personality, life, health, the changes in their life, and how they live. Ultimately in each different universe their level of happiness. One huge complex life spreadsheet across universes. I want to know how many people died as an indirect result of my actions. Oh, this one is creepy. I never thought about that before. I'd like to see a complete list of all the songs I've had stuck in my head and the amount of time each one was stuck there. How many people were attracted to me physically? I doubt many, but it would be nice to know if it could be otherwise. I'd like to see this in chart form over time. So how much has it declined since I had kids and ruined my body forever? How many freight trains I have seen in my life? I'm a crazy train lover. It might be interesting to see some sort of metric on how appreciated or unappreciated the gifts I've given over my lifetime have been. The number of people who actually like me, as opposed to the number of people who just put up with me out of politeness, I assume. The anxiety is real. What percent gypsy I really am to shut my grandma up. How many times I managed to insert a USB right side up on the first try. How many times I have annoyed my roommates for my weird behavior. How many times she thought about that thing I said. How many times people were actually too busy to hang out. How many chances I have to be happy in the future. How many girls were actually into me without me realizing. The mean amount of times I've felt depressed in a day. I want to know how many people remember me after they've left me behind. Year of death. If it was relatively near, I could prepare by getting life insurance on myself for my wife so that she is taken care of. If it was a lengthy period of time until then, I could prepare by investing to make sure that she was taken care of with that. All the last times I've seen people in my life. How much have I moved my mouse in kilometers? How many hours I've spent listening music. How many psychopaths, sociopaths, future or present serial killers have I met or will meet? How many people that actually like me? How many people like me have Mayan Indian heritage? Would be an interesting statistic to know. How many liters of coffee did I have until now, and how much money did I spend on it? I'm addicted to caffeine. How many people actually think I'm good looking? The KDR of my cells vs infections. How many women found me attractive? How many people I have seen that are now dead, bruh? What contributions I did for other people. The furthest distance I've ever walked. Most no hours in a row I spent lying down. How many calories I ate during a particular day. Who has had a crush on me? Probably zero, but who knows? How much weight I have lifted since I was born. How many miles have I scrolled? How many miles I've traveled, walking, driving, etc. How many people with OCD I triggered? What is the perfect amount of sleep? How many times I made people rage in video games? How long I've practiced each of my hobbies, to compare it to the 10,000 hours rule. How many people have ever been attracted to me and never told me? Probably like 2. How many people have had a top 5 hottest guys list and had me on there? How many people I've met on the internet but have walked past or are strangers to in real life? How many people think of me in passing? I have a sharp memory and I still remember details and birthdays of people I graduated with over 10 years ago. Oh hey, today's is Becca's birthday. Wonder how she's doing. Overall, I would say I wasn't well liked in school, considering I have no friends left from there, so the thought of how often I pop into people's heads is interesting. Oh, this is weird. Norbergal used to like this, or just things like that. How many good actions I have done to counteract the bad actions, to see how equal I am. How many items I have lost that I will never get back. How many books I have not noticed that I would love. How many songs I have heard that I would listen to daily. How many skin cells I have lost and gained in total. How many miles I have traveled in total.